Hey guys, today we're talking about something that got me weirdly upset. I was browsing X the other day and I saw this post from Discussing Film, and it says Meryl Streep is rumored to have been offered the role of Aslan in Greta Gerwig's Narnia film. Now, if you don't know, Netflix is rebooting the Narnia films. The original Narnia films are like this weird part of my childhood. I really liked the first Narnia film. And you know, I don't think there are many movies that I saw as many times as a kid as I did The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the first Narnia movie, because it was genuinely great. It was one of those kids movies that is actually something that even as an adult I could still go back and enjoy. But the Netflix version seems to be throwing out all the important parts of it. You see, Aslan, if you don't remember, he's a lion. He looks like this. You might note something about lions. The male lions have manes, okay? Meryl Streep, as far as I know, is not a man. So I don't understand how they're gonna have Aslan played by a woman, because lions, as a species, are obviously sexually dimorphic. The male lions look different from female lions, unless they're just gonna switch Aslan's gender entirely, which would be a huge mistake. Because sure, if you look at the Chronicles of Narnia from a stupid perspective, you might see just a story of some kids that go through a magic wardrobe into another world and go on an adventure. But what it really was, the movie at its core was a story about Christ. It's a Christian movie, and replacing the Christ figure in the movie, Aslan, with a woman completely changes not just the theme, but the message of the movie. You can't just make Christ a woman. That's a step too far. Now, if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. You see right here in the Wikipedia page, and you know Wikipedia isn't very friendly to Christian religious beliefs, so the fact that this is here shows how actually important it is to the full work. They say, although Aslan can be read as an original character, which is stupid, that's not how you're supposed to read it, parallels exist with Jesus. According to the author, Aslan is not an allegorical portrayal of Christ, but rather a suppositional incarnation of Christ himself. You see, how C.S. Lewis wrote Aslan was what it would be like if Christ incarnated into a world full of animals that can talk. You know, as he incarnated himself on Earth, he became a human. But if he was in a different world, would he be a different animal? Would he show up in a different form? And so C.S. Lewis's works, the Chronicles of Narnia, have Aslan come in as not just a Christ-like figure, but literally as a form of Christ himself. Right here's a quote from C.S. Lewis: "If Aslan represented the immaterial deity, he would be an allegorical figure. In reality, however, he is an invention, giving an imaginary answer to the question, what might Christ become like if there were really a world like Narnia, and he chose to be incarnate and die and rise again in that world, as he has actually done in ours. This is not an allegory at all." And then immediately after that, they quote one of the last letters that C.S. Lewis wrote in his life. "Since Narnia is a world of talking beasts, I thought he, Christ, would become the talking beast there, as he became a man here. I pictured him becoming a lion there, because A, the lion is supposed to be the king of beasts, and B, Christ is called the Lion of Judah in the Bible. I'd been having strange dreams about lions when I began writing the work." And obviously, if you actually think about it for 10 seconds, the plot of Aslan in the Chronicles of Narnia does line up with Christian traditions of what happened with Jesus Christ himself. The similarity between the death and resurrection of Aslan and the death and resurrection of Jesus is obvious. One author has observed that, like Jesus, Aslan was ridiculed before his death, mourned, and then discovered to be absent from the place where his body had been laid. In this interpretation, the girls, Susan and Lucy, who witness Aslan's death, mourn him, and witness his resurrection, would stand for the three Marys of Christian tradition. So when I say that the character of Aslan has a religious undertone, I mean that literally. The entire series is a Christian religious book series. And so for them to take the figure that is supposed to represent Jesus Christ himself and have him played as a woman is genuinely offensive. I mean, I'm not the biggest Bible-thumping Christian out there, but what I will say is that if this had anything to do with any other religion, if they were trying to replace a central figure in an Islamic tale or a Jewish tale or a Buddhist tale, they would not try to gender bend the character. There would be outrage for that. But for some reason, when they do it to Christians, it's perfectly okay. And I don't like that. I think that that's insane. There's a double standard when it comes to Christianity, especially in Hollywood, and they don't treat Christianity with the same respect that they treat other religions. And it's just upsetting, you know? Why in 2025 are they still trying to do this? Because obviously the movie's not going to do well if they completely butcher one of the main plot lines by replacing Christ with a woman. I don't know. It might seem like this is a really small change for them to make, but it really isn't. And I think that I'm mostly upset about it because this movie was one of my favorite ones when I was a kid, and it's going to be butchered by Netflix. But still, I do find it offensive that they constantly belittle and demean Christian representation in media. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Sorry for ranting about religion. I'm sure the comments section is going to be wonderful. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and God bless you.